All right, so you're prepping for a legal policy officer interview and want to make sure you absolutely nail it. We've got you covered. We dug deep into RoleCatcher's resources on this role, their career guide, their interview guide, even some info on how their AI can help you stand out. This deep dive is going to give you some insider tips and tricks to answer common interview questions, highlight career advancement paths, and even reveal how to beat those pesky automated applicant tracking systems.
What's fascinating about legal policy officer roles is they sit at this intersection of law, policy, and real-world impact. They're researching, analyzing, and ultimately shaping the policies that govern our legal systems.
That's right. They're like the architects of a fairer and more just legal landscape. So
Yeah.
before we jump into interview prep, can you give us a quick rundown of what the day-to-day looks like for a legal policy officer? What's their typical work environment?
Think office settings, but not necessarily stuffy law firms. You'll find them in government agencies, legal departments of various organizations, and even nonprofits. It's a fast-paced environment, lots of collaboration with legal professionals, government officials,
Yeah.
and policymakers. You need to be comfortable juggling multiple projects and meeting deadlines.
And I'm guessing with technology becoming so integrated into the legal field, being tech-savvy is a big plus.
Absolutely. Familiarity with legal tech tools is becoming increasingly important for these roles. It's not just about knowing the law. It's about understanding how technology is shaping its application and evolution.
Okay, so let's say someone is fresh out of school or just starting out in their career. What are some key things they can do to land that entry-level legal policy officer role?
Practical experience is key. Think internships, entry-level positions in legal research, even policy analysis roles within government agencies or nonprofits. Volunteering for projects related to legal policy is another fantastic way to gain experience and demonstrate genuine interest.
So it's not just about the degree. It's about getting your hands dirty and showing you can apply that knowledge in real-world settings.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of networking. Joining professional organizations,
Yeah.
attending industry events. Those are all valuable ways to connect with people in the field and learn about potential opportunities.
All right, let's talk interview prep. RoleCatcher's Guide has a ton of sample questions now.
Yeah.
They always start with the classic, tell us about your experience with legal research and analysis. How should someone approach this question?
This is your chance to highlight relevant coursework,
Yeah.
internships, and any work experience where you've honed those research and analysis skills. Don't just list your experiences, walk them through your process. How do you approach a research question? What tools or databases do you use? What steps do you take to ensure your analysis is accurate and thorough?
So it's about showcasing your methodology and attention to detail. What about follow-up questions? They might ask you to describe a particularly challenging research project you tackled.
That's a great point. Be prepared to share a specific example that demonstrates your problem-solving skills and your ability to work through complex legal issues. Focus on the steps you took, the challenges you faced, and the outcome you achieved.
Okay, let's move on to another common question. How do you stay up to date with changes in legal policies and regulations? It feels like demonstrating continuous learning is key here.
Absolutely. Mention specific resources you rely on, journals, legal websites, professional organizations. Talk about attending conferences or webinars. The key is to show you're actively engaged and staying current with legal developments. The interviewer wants to see that intellectual curiosity.
And I imagine they might ask you to discuss a recent legal development that caught your attention and why.
That's a very likely follow-up. Be prepared to talk about a specific policy change or legal case that you found interesting and explain its potential implications. It shows you're not just passively consuming information, but actively thinking about its real-world impact.
All right, let's tackle a question that's a bit more strategic. How do you approach the development of new legal policies? This one feels like it's really getting at your thought process.
It is. This is your chance to showcase your understanding of the policy development lifecycle. Walk them through your approach, starting with identifying a need, conducting research, gathering stakeholder input, drafting the policy, and outlining steps for implementation and evaluation.
So it's not just about drafting legal language. It's about seeing the bigger picture and understanding the whole process from start to finish.
Precisely. And be ready for follow-up questions about specific challenges you've encountered during policy development and how you overcame them.
Now, I know a lot of candidates get tripped up on questions about working with government agencies. They might ask, can you describe your experience working with government agencies and regulatory bodies? What if you don't have direct experience working within a government agency?
That's a common concern. Even without direct experience, you can still demonstrate your understanding of the regulatory landscape. Draw on any experiences
Yeah.
where you had to navigate complex regulations or work with multiple stakeholders to achieve a common goal.
So even something like working with a university's legal department or a student government organization could be relevant here.
Exactly. It's about showing you can navigate complex systems, understand regulatory processes, and collaborate effectively.
Okay. Let's move on to a question that really assesses your analytical skills. How do you approach legal policy analysis and evaluation? This one feels a bit daunting.
It can be, but break it down step by step. Explain your process for identifying key issues, conducting research, and analyzing the potential impact of policies. Do you use any specific frameworks or methodologies? What metrics do you consider when evaluating effectiveness?
So, showcasing your analytical toolkit and demonstrating a structured approach is key here. What are some follow-up questions you might anticipate?
They might ask you to analyze a hypothetical policy scenario, or describe a time you had to evaluate the effectiveness of an existing policy. Be prepared to apply your analytical skills to real-world examples.
Great advice. Now, let's talk about a question that often throws candidates off guard. Can you describe your experience working with legal professionals in different practice areas?
This question is all about showcasing your collaborative spirit and adaptability. Highlight any experiences where you've worked with legal professionals from various fields, emphasizing your ability to communicate effectively, understand their perspectives, and work together towards common goals.
So, it's not just about legal knowledge. It's about interpersonal skills and the ability to navigate different legal cultures.
Absolutely. And be prepared to discuss any challenges you faced when collaborating with legal professionals from different backgrounds and how you overcame those challenges.
All right. Let's tackle another challenging question. Can you give an example of a legal policy issue you had to resolve and how you went about it?
This one feels like it calls for a compelling story. It does. Choose a specific example that demonstrates your problem-solving abilities and highlights a positive outcome. Clearly outline the problem, the steps you took, the challenges you faced, and the results you achieved. Focus on your role in the process and the skills you demonstrated.
Okay, so it's not just about the issue itself. It's about how you, as a legal policy officer, approached and resolved it. What are some potential follow-up questions interviewers might ask?
They might dig deeper into the specifics of your actions, asking about alternative approaches you considered, or how you measured the success of your solution.
Now, before we move on to more interview questions, I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier, the increasing importance of technology in the legal field. How can RoleCatcher's AI tools help someone prepare for these types of interview questions?
RoleCatcher's AI can analyze job descriptions to identify keywords and skills that are highly valued by employers in the legal tech space. This can help you tailor your answers to emphasize your tech proficiency and your understanding of how technology is transforming the legal landscape. So it's like having a behind-the-scenes look at what employers are really looking for in candidates.
Exactly. And by using RoleCatcher's AI-powered practice tool, you can get feedback on your responses, ensuring you're using the right language and highlighting the right skills to impress potential employers.
That's incredibly helpful. It's like having a personal career coach who can guide you towards crafting the perfect responses. All right, let's get back to those interview questions. We've got a few more to cover, so let's jump right in.
Welcome back. We're in the midst of dissecting some of the toughest legal policy officer interview questions and arming you with strategies to knock your answers out of the park.
That's right. And last time we even got a sneak peek into how RoleCatcher's AI can give you an edge in tailoring your responses to specific job roles. But before we dive back into those interview questions, I'd love to hear more about what a typical career path looks like for a legal policy officer. Absolutely. RoleCatcher's career guide actually outlines the typical stages of a legal policy officer's career progression. And it's fascinating to see how the responsibilities evolve early on. You're often focused on research and analysis, contributing to policy development, but maybe not leading those initiatives just yet.
So you're building a foundation, learning the ropes, supporting more senior policy officers. What are some signs that someone is ready to take on more responsibility?
One key indicator is when you start taking a more proactive role in shaping policies, instead of just assisting, you're identifying areas for improvement, conducting independent research, and proposing new policies or amendments to existing ones.
So you're not just following directions, you're becoming a thought leader, bringing your own ideas to the table.
Exactly. You're demonstrating a deep understanding of the legal landscape and the ability to think critically about how policies can be improved to better address emerging challenges.
And as you progress, you might even find yourself mentoring junior colleagues, sharing your expertise, and guiding them through the complexities of policy development.
Absolutely. That mentorship experience is invaluable for developing leadership skills, which are essential for moving into management roles down the line.
Okay, so we've got a good grasp of the typical career progression, but what about those who are ambitious and want to accelerate their career growth? RoleCatcher's Guide also mentions some smart strategies for advancement.
Continuous learning is crucial. Pursuing advanced degrees like a Master of Laws or a Master of Public Policy can demonstrate your commitment to the field and equip you with specialized knowledge certifications in specific areas of law or policy can also enhance your credentials.
And of course, staying up to date with the latest legal developments through workshops, conferences, and webinars is essential. But what about showcasing your expertise? How can you make your accomplishments visible to potential employers?
Building a professional portfolio is a fantastic way to do that. Include research papers, policy briefs, any projects where you've played a key role in developing or implementing legal policies. It's tangible proof of your skills and experience.
I love that it's not just about what you say on your resume, it's about showing them the actual work you've done.
Right, and publishing articles or blog posts on relevant legal topics can help establish you as a thought leader and demonstrate your expertise to a wider audience. It's also a great way to connect with other professionals in the field.
And speaking of connections, networking is always key, right?
Absolutely. Attending industry events, joining professional organizations, and actively engaging with online communities, these are all valuable ways to build relationships and learn about potential opportunities.
And don't forget the power of mentorship. Having a more experienced legal policy officer guide and support you, you can provide invaluable insights and open doors to new opportunities.
Mentorship can be a game changer. It's about learning from someone who's been there, someone who can offer advice, share their network, and help you navigate the challenges and opportunities of this career path.
Okay, so we've covered career progression and advancement strategies. Now let's get back to those interview questions. We tackled some common ones last time. But interviewers often throw curveballs to assess how you think on your feet.
Right. They want to see if you can analyze a situation, think critically, and articulate your thoughts clearly, even when you're caught off guard.
So let's say you're in the interview and they ask, what are some of the biggest challenges facing the legal sector today, and how do you see the role of a legal policy officer in addressing those challenges?
This is a fantastic question because it allows you to demonstrate your understanding of the broader legal landscape and your ability to connect those challenges back to the specific role you're applying for.
So it's not just about knowing the technical aspects of policy development, it's about understanding the context in that bigger picture.
Precisely, you could talk about the increasing use of technology and its implications for access to justice, data privacy, even the way legal services are delivered.
Or the growing need to address issues like climate change, social inequality, and emerging ethical considerations within the legal profession itself.
Exactly, and then tie those challenges back to how a legal policy officer can contribute to solutions. How can they shape policies that promote innovation, ensure fairness and equity, and uphold ethical standards within the legal system?
Okay, that's a great example.
Yeah.
Now, let's say they want to test your analytical skills and ask, can you analyze the impact of a recent legal policy change on a specific stakeholder group?
This is where you really get to showcase your research and analytical abilities. First, clarify which policy change they're referring to and which stakeholder group they're interested in.
So maybe they're asking about the impact of a new data privacy regulation on small businesses, or the effects of a criminal justice reform bill on marginalized communities.
Right. You would then outline the key provisions of the policy change, explain how those provisions might affect the specific stakeholder group, and analyze both the positive and negative consequences.
It sounds like it requires a balance of summarizing information, drawing your own conclusions, and supporting those conclusions with evidence.
Exactly. It's about demonstrating your ability to synthesize complex information, identify key issues, and communicate your analysis clearly and concisely.
Okay, let's try one more. The interviewer leans back and says, imagine you're tasked with developing a new legal policy to address a specific social issue. How would you approach the task?
This is a classic hypothetical question that interviewers love to ask. It's all about assessing your problem-solving abilities and your understanding of the policy development process.
So maybe they're asking you to develop a policy to address online harassment or to
Mhm.
create a framework for regulating the use of artificial intelligence in legal decision-making.
Right. You would start by defining the scope of the problem, identifying the key stakeholders involved, and conducting thorough research on existing laws and regulations. Then you'd move on to outlining the goals of the new policy, considering different policy options, and evaluating the potential impact of each option.
It's almost like creating a mini roadmap for tackling this complex social issue.
Exactly, and you'd want to emphasize the importance of gathering input from stakeholders, ensuring transparency throughout the process, and developing clear metrics to measure the effectiveness of the policy once implemented.
Now, I know a lot of people find these hypothetical questions intimidating. How can RoleCatcher's AI tools help someone practice and feel more confident approaching these types of questions?
RoleCatcher's AI can actually generate realistic policy scenarios based on current events and trends. This allows you to practice applying your knowledge and skills to situations that closely mirror what you might encounter in a real job.
So it's like having a virtual simulation of a policy development challenge.
Exactly. And by using the AI-powered practice tool, you can get feedback on your proposed solutions, ensuring your approach is logical, well-supported, and aligned with best practices in the field.
Okay, so you've expertly navigated those tricky interview questions, but now let's talk about what happens after the interview. The waiting game can be agonizing, but RoleCatcher offers some helpful tips on following up and making sure you leave a lasting impression.
Right, because even after the interview is over, there are still things you can do to increase your chances of landing the job.
So what's the first step? Do you send a thank you note right away?
Absolutely. A prompt and personalized thank you note is essential. It shows your appreciation for the interviewer's time and reinforces your interest in the position.
And this is a chance to reiterate your key qualifications and highlight anything specific you discussed during the interview that really resonated with you.
Exactly. You can even mention something you learned during the interview, or ask a thoughtful follow-up question to keep the conversation going. But don't be too pushy. The key is to strike a balance between expressing your enthusiasm and respecting the interviewer's time.
So maybe a week or so after the interview, you could send a brief follow-up email to inquire about the status of the hiring process.
Exactly, and if you haven't heard back after a reasonable amount of time, it's perfectly acceptable to send another polite follow-up email to reiterate your interest and see if there are any updates.
This has been so helpful. We've covered so much ground, from career progression strategies to mastering those tricky interview questions. But there's one more crucial aspect of being a legal policy officer that we haven't discussed yet: the challenges and rewards. This is a demanding field, but it's also incredibly impactful and fulfilling.
It is, and understanding both the challenges and the rewards can help you determine if this career path is truly the right fit for you.
So let's start with the challenges. What are some of the things that aspiring legal policy officers should be prepared to face?
Well, the legal landscape is constantly evolving, so you need to be comfortable with continuous learning and adapting to new laws, regulations, and technologies. You'll need to be a quick study and embrace ongoing professional development.
And the work itself can be demanding. You're often dealing with complex legal issues, navigating competing stakeholder interests, and working under tight deadlines.
And let's not forget the political side of things. You might face opposition to your policies or encounter bureaucratic hurdles. It can be a real balancing act, requiring strong communication and negotiation skills.
Okay, so it's not for the faint of heart, but what about the rewards? What makes all the hard work worthwhile?
For many legal policy officers, the biggest reward is the opportunity to make a real difference in the world. You're shaping policies that affect people's lives, promoting fairness and justice, and contributing to a more equitable society. It's about using your legal expertise to create positive social change.
And that feeling of knowing you're making a positive impact can be incredibly motivating and fulfilling.
Absolutely. And beyond the social impact, there's also the intellectual stimulation of the work itself. You're constantly learning, analyzing, and problem solving. It's a challenging but incredibly rewarding field for those who are passionate about law policy and social change.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We've covered career paths, interview strategies, and even touched on the challenges and rewards of being a legal policy officer.
And remember, with the right preparation, the right mindset, and the help of tools like RoleCatcher's AI, you can absolutely ace that interview and embark on a successful and fulfilling career in this impactful field. But we're not quite done yet.
Right. In part 3 of our deep dive, we'll explore some additional resources and tips that can help you stand out from the competition and land your dream job as a legal policy officer.
So stay tuned for more valuable insights and expert advice.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the world of legal policy officers.
We've journeyed through the ins and outs of this impactful career, from understanding the core responsibilities to mastering those challenging interview questions.
And we even explored that unique blend of challenges and rewards that come with shaping the legal landscape. But before we wrap up our deep dive, I wanted to circle back to a tool we've mentioned throughout this episode, RoleCatcher's AI-powered CV, or resume builder.
It's a true game changer for anyone prepping for a legal policy officer interview. It can help you tailor your application to specific job descriptions in a way that really grabs the attention of recruiters, both human and those increasingly common automated systems.
Okay, so for our listeners who are ready to put this tool to work, walk us through it step by step. Let's say I found a legal policy officer position that has me really excited. How do I use RoleCatcher's AI to make my CV or resume stand out?
The first step is creating a free RoleCatcher account. It's super quick and easy. Once you're logged in, you'll navigate to the CV or resume builder section and upload your current CV or resume.
All right, so I've uploaded my document. What happens next?
This is where the magic happens. You'll copy and paste the job description for that legal policy officer position you're interested in. RoleCatcher's AI will then analyze both your CV resume and the job description, looking for those keywords, skills, and experiences that really jump out.
So it's not just a simple word search. It's actually understanding the context and meaning behind the words in both documents.
Exactly. It uses natural language processing to identify the underlying skills and experiences that the employer is truly looking for in a candidate. It's like having an expert recruiter whispering in your ear.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So what happens once RoleCatcher's AI has finished its analysis?
You'll get a detailed report that highlights areas where your CV or resume already aligns well with the job description, and just as importantly, areas where you might want to make some tweaks or additions.
So it's like having a personalized feedback session with a career coach. Who knows exactly what this specific employer is looking for?
Precisely. And the best part is, RoleCatcher's AI doesn't just point out areas for improvement. It provides specific suggestions. It might recommend adding certain keywords, highlighting specific skills, or even drawing attention to relevant experiences from your past that you might not have thought to include.
So it's not just about stuffing your CV with keywords. It's about strategically showcasing your unique qualifications and how they connect to the specific needs of this particular role.
Right. It's about presenting a cohesive and compelling narrative that makes you stand out as the ideal candidate. And to make sure you're on the right track, RoleCatcher also has a scoring feature. You can actually score your CV or resume against the job description and get a numerical score based on how well your application aligns with the employer's requirements.
So you can see in real time how those changes are improving your chances of getting noticed.
Exactly. And if you're not happy with the score, you can continue refining your CV resume using those AI-powered suggestions until you're confident you're putting your best foot forward.
This is incredible. It takes so much of the guesswork out of crafting a strong application. But even with a perfectly tailored CV or resume, the interview is still where you really seal the deal. And that's where RoleCatcher's AI-powered interview practice tool comes into play.
Absolutely, because even when you know you've got the skills and experience, those interview nerves can get the best of anyone. Practicing your answers beforehand can make a world of difference in how you present yourself and articulate your thoughts.
Okay, so tell me about this interview practice tool. Does it just give you a list of generic interview questions?
Not at all. RoleCatcher takes it a step further by curating questions specifically tailored to the legal policy officer role. These questions are designed to cover a wide range of topics, from your technical expertise to your problem-solving abilities and your understanding of the legal landscape. You're essentially rehearsing for the types of questions that are likely to come up in a real interview.
So it's like having a behind-the-scenes look at the interviewer's playbook.
Exactly. And here's what I find most impressive. After you practice your answers, you can record yourself and get AI-powered feedback on your delivery. It's like having a personal interview coach analyzing your every move.
Seriously. It analyzes your video and gives you feedback on how you're presenting yourself.
It does. It assesses your pacing, your tone of voice, your body language, even your use of filler words. It picks up on those subtle cues that can make or break an interview.
That's incredible. It's like having a virtual mirror reflecting not just what you're saying, but how you're saying it.
Right. And the feedback is tailored to help you improve. It might suggest slowing down your pace, making more eye contact, using stronger language to emphasize key points, or even projecting more confidence through your posture.
Okay. So I've used RoleCatcher's AI to optimize my CV. I've practiced my answers with the interview tool. I've even gotten feedback on my delivery. I'm feeling pretty confident going into this interview. But what if they throw a question at me that I haven't prepared for?
Remember, the interview isn't just about reciting memorized answers. It's about showcasing your ability to think critically, problem solve,
Mm-hmm.
and articulate your thoughts clearly, even when you're faced with the unexpected.
So, if a curveball question comes my way, the key is to stay calm,
Hmm.
take a moment to gather my thoughts, and then explain my reasoning in a structured way.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions if you need to. It shows that you're engaged and that you're processing the information carefully.
This has been an incredible deep dive into the world of legal policy officers. We've covered so much ground, and I feel like we've really equipped our listeners with the knowledge, the strategies, and the tools they need to succeed.
I agree. Remember, becoming a legal policy officer is more than just landing a job. It's about using your passion and expertise to shape a more just and equitable world.
So to all our listeners out there who are ready to embark on this exciting journey, go out there, ace those interviews, and make a difference. And don't forget, RoleCatcher has a treasure trove of resources to support you every step of the way.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time,
Yeah.
keep learning and keep striving to make a positive impact.